Mario Sunshine's approach to level theming is, almost counterintuitively, one of the elements of the game I hear praised most often. Mario wrote the rules. A platformer's gotta have the grasslands, the desert, the water level, an ice world, a fire world, a sky world, bonus points for a forest, jungle, or swamp. Throw in a curveball like Candyland or a haunted house if you're feeling spicy. This trend didn't catch on by accident. With this kind of variety in the scenery, it's almost impossible to be bored. The separate themes create a level of expectation in the player's mind for new elements that match the area, which makes it easier to keep up with new ideas and mechanics, like swinging vines or slippery platforms. But then Sunshine rocks up to the party and it's like beach, beach, lake, harbor, beach, 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 reef. One can only admire the confidence, given the reputation water levels tend to have in games, of Nintendo making a game with almost nothing but. Of course, I'm being a bit disingenuous. The praise this aspect of the game gets is thanks largely to the fact that, while every level does adhere to this central theme of tropical water, they haven't really done away with that classic biome trotting formula, but rather interpreted it through the lens of an equatorial resort, and leans perhaps even further into the mechanical diversity on offer. The lakeside village stands in for the grassy plains, a playful introduction to everything you need to know about the levels ahead. A bit of swimming, a bit of hovering, a couple boss fights, secret levels, 1 coin, 2 coin, red coin, blue coin, with the pervading windmill imagery reinforcing the idea that this level is a breeze. And the bonus that you can interact with them using FLUDD as well as the wind, an incredibly elegant way of easing you into the possibilities on offer thanks to this unusual device. I won't go as deep into the rest of them as they've all already gotten their time in the spotlight, but Gelato interprets the sandy desert theme into a pink sandy beach. Classic airship levels and their emphasis on moving parts are condensed into a bustling shipyard. Pinna Park feels like the tropical counterpart to fortresses and castles, again with their focus on mechanical elements as well as enemies and the big money shot of Bowser. Serena Beach pulls from the ghost houses. Noki Bay is the easiest to see as the water level of the bunch, but even it, I would argue, pulls more from the maze and mystery elements typically used in Mario's underground levels. The motifs are all familiar, but their unification under this one core idea, this idealized vacation destination, almost makes them more appealing when you can look at them not just as individual levels, but as a whole. Piantas live in Bianco Hills, work in Rico Harbor, shop in Delfino Plaza, and relax on Gelato Beach. That feeling that the areas aren't just made by the game developers, but by the very people living in this space? That's what makes Sunshine so absorbing. You want to know more about these people's lives, their culture, their history, and Sunshine says yes, come with me, let me show you. Which brings us, at long last, to this game's final main level. Pianta Village. So welcome back everyone and everything to Game Breakdown, and the little details for this level come out in force before we even get inside. This pipe atop the Shine Gate isn't nearly as inconspicuous as Serena Beach's pipe, nor does it require some bizarre retinopathic ritual like Noki Bay. In fact, getting up here is probably the very first thing a player will do after they've unlocked the rocket nozzle in the plaza, if only to finally clean the gunk off the Shine. So to many, while this is technically Sunshine's last main level, it's more like the 5th. But as many of you already know, it goes further than that, since this level is fully accessible before you even open Bianco Hills. A brand new player wouldn't stumble up here by accident. It takes a bit of jumping finesse, but this can absolutely be the very first level you visit, and I am way into that. However, what you may not have already known is that this wasn't always going to be the case. Way back at the start of the game, during the courtroom cutscene, we get this shot of Delfino Plaza, and if we look at this pipe, we can see it's actually blocked by a thick black disc. We can find a granite hockey puck like this at the top of the lighthouse. It's something that can only be broken with a ground pound from rocket nozzle height. So this would have been a progress gate to keep you from accessing Pianta Village early. I have to wonder why this was changed. It must have been a decision made fairly late in development since it's still present in a cutscene, but I think it was a change for the better. Here's an odd detail. If you do explore this area earlier in the game, Mario's spawn point upon exiting the level is different. Normally it's right here besides the pipe, but before revealing the Pianta statue, it's centered on the Shine Gate. I actually do more or less know why this is, but we'll save that for Delfino Plaza's episode. That's about all I can tell you about the entrance. Let's head right on in. Episode 1, Chained Chomplets Unchained, and whoa. Nighttime? In Mario Sunshine. Don't give me none of that, oh, moonlight is actually just reflected sunlight. Where's the sun? I joke. Pianta Village is the level I see most often cited as people's favorite, and this cool nighttime aesthetic is almost always one of the main reasons why. It's a welcome change of pace, similar to Serena Beach, and it's not the only one. Following along with the level theme discussion from earlier, Pianta Village is the main outlier, with its largest and only body of water being this little spring in the center of town. It's pretty clearly repping jungle or forest levels, but with elements of Mario 3's giant world as well. So, where are we right now? Well, Pianta Village is close to the center of the island, and is its highest point apart from the volcano. From here we can make out the dolphin's fin pretty well. We can even see the highest cliffs on Noki Bay over there. Of course, you've got Gelato Beach and Pinna Park to the south, and it feels at least slightly worth noting that the park still seems to be open this late. Pulling the camera back only reveals the actual beach part of Serena Beach. Oh my god, they made the pirate ship pond? And this little cannon platform? Are they insane? Over on Noki Bay, you can also see the exact area where we fought in Gooper Blooper. They're crazy. But beyond those three, not much. No Bianco, no Rico, no Plaza. This is almost consistent, actually, since the only level we've been able to see the top of this tree from has been Pinna Park, though it also shares a bit of continuity with Bianco Hills, since relative to that area, it should be located right about here. It's possible that the chasm beneath the village is actually the source of this water. After all, these are the only locations in the overworld which are treated as bottomless pits. That's not the only connection these locations share. In fact, I would go so far as to say Pianta Village feels somewhat like a dark reflection of Bianco Hills, starting with the start. You're positioned in this secluded area apart from the town, but instead of a relaxing fountain-lined trail inviting you to slide down to the village, it's this treacherous rope bridge over instant death. Some later missions even assault you with blusters as you try to cross it. In fact, try and slip and slide down this one and... Okay, to be fair, Nintendo does try to protect you from that, your slide ending if you pass onto the bridge from this end, and it's a result of the fact that this bridge's physics are downright ambitious, and I must say, quite impressive. But now we've made it across, let's finally see what this mission's about, huh? This fellow front and center is actually the mayor of Pianta Village, once again giving us a central authority to more or less get our mission briefings from each episode. Actually, we've got tons of Piantas to talk to in this area. Stark contrast from Noki Bay, I'm fairly certain Pianta Village has more unique NPCs and dialogue than any other level. So let's meet some more of our key players. This one keeps Chain Chomps as pets. In fact, her 3 Chain Chomp puppies are causing terror as we speak. But we'll get to those later. She's easy to remember because she essentially has the exact same color scheme as a flaming Chomp. Excuse me, you what? You normally grab their tails and spike them into the ground? Are you fit to be a pet owner? Yeah, alright, okay, fine, you are. Jeez, just don't feed me to your little darlings. We're gonna call her Madame Pianta, after a fellow tamer and lover of Chain Chomps. This lady isn't getting a nickname, but she tells us about this Gramps fellow hanging out in the town spring, rocking a spectacular mustache. And that's saying something coming from Mario. He gives us a fairly overt hint on how to actually deal with the rampaging Chomplets, as apparently there's no better place to cool off than right here. Up here on the mushrooms there are many cowering Piantas, including a sunglasses bro! This one without a shirt, or apparently any sunglasses to offer? Guess he's a bit preoccupied. This orange Pianta asks us if we've talked to the mayor. Summing up all the trouble here is a really tough job. This might be my favorite joke in this whole game. I love when the writers can poke fun at themselves over repeating trends, like the fact that the people in charge of each area all have the same response in a crisis, which is to simply tell the nearest plumber about it. Most of the rest of the villagers don't have anything too exciting to say, mostly just giving hints and nudges as to some of the level's mechanics and points of interest. Except for these two, which are just... they're just mean. The back left corner of the town has a hot spring, which seems to be closed, but that hasn't stopped these Piantas from partying it up. I bet they're just doing it to motivate the janitor. Yeah, you go, janitor guy, keep that floor dry. There's this little yellow one hiding among all these boxes, which unfortunately for her, makes her the one character in this mission who's actually within the range of the Chomplets she was probably hoping to avoid. There you go, that's a much better hiding spot, wouldn't you say? Suppose I'd better address this crazy orange goop. It's another step up in difficulty from Serena's electric stuff. This fire slime is lethal. Getting bounced once locks you into the opposite direction you were moving in, which can very well combo you all the way to death. It's of course being spread constantly by the hot dogs, which are moving continuously along the town's paths, except for this corner, for some reason. So it's clear they are a bit of a menace, let's set to dealing with them. Now this level's actually gonna get a lot of mileage out of Mario's ability to pull things, a move we've only otherwise used on Gooper Blooper. But there's a lot more to it now. After cooling down a Chomp with Flood, it'll just pipe back up again a few moments later, so we've got to grab hold of the tail and launch them like slingshots to get them into the central spring, where I'm assured they won't drown, probably. The further back you pull, the further and faster they'll be launched, and the more times they'll ricochet off the walls. So you can play this straight, or you can go for some sweet bank shots, like... yeah! Nailed it. I like that if you can't see a Chomplet, you can effectively track it down by their trail of goop as long as you've been cleaning it away. A great organic reward for using your Flood. Once you've got that last one all splashed down, our shine will spawn. Of course, Flood, what is it with you and PSAs recently? Cut that out. But don't grab the shine yet, instead head to the scaffolding beneath the town. We'll explore this place pretty thoroughly later, but for now, a fun oversight. Thanks to Christmas95 for letting me know about this, the Chomplets' heads are protruding through the bottom of the level here. They sure look soothed. Ah well, at least we know they can breathe. A few more interesting goodies before we move on. It's entirely possible to launch a Chomplet outside the fence with the right angle and enough speed. But Nintendo's way ahead of me on this one. Looks like you're safe for now, little Korok Pianta. I tried really hard to get one to fall into the pool on its own, but if it's possible, I don't know what it would take. Bruh. There are a surprising number of hidden coins in this episode. Actually, that's gonna be something of a running theme in Pianta Village. In this episode, there are 48 coins hidden within these tall mushrooms, particularly the ones on fire. So if you are struggling and in need of a health refill, the mushrooms have got your back. How appropriate. First shine of Pianta Village in the bag, and man, this part of the game feels incredible. You come out of the level and you're just greeted by this fantastic view. No more dark ring, a blue horizon as far as the eye can see. As we head back in, I want to talk about the mission select screen a bit now that we've seen all of them. It's something most people wouldn't notice until shown side by side, but every level's title words actually contain a unique image. Bianco's got this cloudy sky and a bit of green hill. Rico is all water. Gelato, you've got a stretch of the horizon. Pinnabark is hard to tell. I think it's a bit of this opening walkway though. Surina Beach, a point where the cliffs meet sand, though distinctly not at sunset. Noki Bay, water again, and finally Pianta Village, which looks to me like a roof of a building in Delfino Plaza, and not like anything actually found within the level. Odd. Another detail worth noting is this rainbow gradient in the background. The asset used for this effect is just a single strip of colors with a blur effect, which you can actually see in a few other places in the game. Most obviously is the title screen, this scribble scrawled behind it. And it's also found by clicking on the sun in the brochure to bring up this little shine sprite page. And speaking of the sun, episode 2 is set in the daytime? Okay, so obviously this represents a lot of work. Since this game doesn't have a complex lighting engine, every single texture in the game needs to be made to look like it's being properly lit for its time of day. So 2 sets of lighting means twice the texture work. But how cool would it have been to see every level at multiple times of day? Alas, this remains a reason why Pianta Village stands out in people's memories. Every odd-numbered mission will be set at night, and every even-numbered mission will be set during the day. And there are a number of significant changes between the two. The most noteworthy is the water. During the day, they actually redirect the water from the central spring into the hot spring over here, meaning this spot is dry, and this is easily the least water present in any overworld map. It's a good thing we won't need it for today's objective, Il Piantissimo's crazy climb. Our disguised friend here has one last race for us, but oddly it's the most straightforward yet. Just a dash through town and then up the tree. No wall jumping, no swimming, just run. I've got time. Let's see what everyone in town has to say. It's funny, the mood around here is completely opposite to what it was in Gelato Beach. Most everyone's just like, man, that Il Piantissimo dude really sucks. This little girl swears she saw a giant bird flying around. I hope this is a reference to the sandbird. This one mentions this swing, and man, whoever built this has got a great eye for safety. I foresee no possible way anything could go wrong here. Sunglasses Bro is back in business during the day. Good stuff, good stuff. I still don't like it changing my screen brightness though. And this mission is home to some of the most obscure coins in the game. Forget the fact that we basically have no reason to be exploring this town in the first place. We extremely have no reason to be looking for coins, but in this mission only, if you climb to the top of this golden mushroom and ground pound the center, it'll pay out 20 coins. Well, I think we've still got time to reach the flag. What? My, how time flies when you cut out so much of it. Hey, Very Plant, how'd I do? You are like a fat snail! You know what? That's completely fair. Okay, for real this time. This is almost unquestionably the easiest Piantissimo race at the batch. You're not gonna beat him if you don't do some slides, but you're not gonna lose to him otherwise. Grr, yes grr! It seems his actual best time is about 28 seconds, despite his claims of 30, but what else is new? Nice! Of course, he's got more of a challenge for us if we head back in, and this is probably the most noteworthy thing he does. Ready? For his second route, he doesn't change things up too much, just takes a slightly more efficient path through the village, but check out what he does at the tree. He jumps out of the dive onto the slope, triggering that uphill sprint move we've used many times before. I always hear this particular mechanic referred to as a glitch, but here's Nintendo outright using Il Piantissimo to teach you how to perform it. No way that wasn't intentional. A secret technique, certainly. but not a glitch. Now, he doesn't actually stand a chance here. Between our ability to hydro slide through town and the same uphill sprint, we can get him to his fastest speed without issue. He takes off like a swoop out of underwear, and secures a time of about 18 seconds, but without Flood, he still can't really compete here. So you know what? This is the last time we're gonna see this guy. I say we try to beat him at his own game. No Flood, just man to plant. Let's go! There's not a lot we can do better than him here. Initiating a dive the moment we leave the ground for a jump will give us a bit more speed than just diving. But the biggest problem is, if we bump into him, there'll be no making a comeback. However, we can't just start ahead and stay ahead, because if we want to start the race facing the right way, we've got to let him have that 6-inch head start. So in order to pass him as quickly as possible, you've got to be as quick off the starting line as he is, mashing the jump and dive buttons the instant he stops talking. Be careful not to bonk into any of the walls in town, and come on, 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 yeah! Perhaps you did underestimate me, my good plant, and that's all I have to say to you too. Woo! After a difficult floodless challenge like that, I'm looking forward to spraying my heart out in episode 3, hey! The Goopy Inferno, the one and only floodless episode in this game, and probably the most popular choice for favorite level. I'll still sing the praises of Mysterious Hotel Delfino any day, but I love this level almost as much for many of the same reasons. The town is absolutely swamped with fiery goop. This is the most we've ever seen, and we have no water to deal with it. Pretty much everyone is freaking out that the mayor, after managing to coordinate an evacuation, was stranded in the middle of this mess. Well, everyone except the janitor, who I'm not even sure realizes there's a crisis. Oh, and this guy, who murdered me. So we have a puzzle here, a lake of fire between us and our objective. How are we possibly going to get up there without our main tool for mobility or cleaning a path? Well, the answer is left entirely up to you. The reason this level is so often named as people's favorite is because this is where Sunshine's sandbox elements absolutely thrive. Before we go crazy, let's take the route laid out by Nintendo. By venturing around the village perimeter, we'll eventually find this guy, who directs us down this hole and gives us a few more instructions on navigating beneath the village. This takes us to what is basically the second half of Pianta Village, a series of mushrooms and suspended platforms with nothing but the unforgiving pit beneath you. Clambers and Electrokoopas are both making their second appearance just to obstruct your progress, but follow the path of the coins, punch these sliding grates, make your way across the mushrooms, monkey bar on some more grates, and you'll eventually emerge right in the middle of the action, with some of the only safe spots in this whole level forming a path straight to the mayor. But now, every single other method I could think of. First, the way I did it as a kid. I found a route straight towards the center of the village in this stream leading straight into the spring, where even Gramps' little island is covered in goo. By the way, Gramps used to change the mayor's diapers. Just thought you should know that. But in trying to find a foothold on dry land, water was dripping off of Mario, and the droplets were clearing away the sludge. The mayor's house is right over there. A little tenacity and you can absolutely get close enough to jump over the goop and reach our goal. This one holds a special place in my heart, not just because it was my first successful route, but because what other game would let you use water dripping from your character as an element in puzzle solving? This is the ultimate case of emergent gameplay. This whole game has taught us one thing above all else. Water is our ally. We have one source of water this episode, and it's exactly close enough to help us clear away and make this jump. This submerged tree on the island is the perfect hint to clue us in that this is even possible. What an incredibly memorable moment. It's no wonder everyone loves this episode. Back to that Nintended method, it took us on quite a roundabout route, but there are a lot more access hatches down to the underside. This one next to the hot spring performers will take us on a significantly shorter climb to this gate near the hot spring. A couple of careful jumps and we can get from here to this tree, to this mushroom, then to this bridge where we can make the jump to the mayor's house no problem. This hatch to the left of the entrance exists. The rest of the flip gates we can reach from the outside of town are all over on the west of the platform, an area we're softly discouraged from reaching by this extension of the goo. We can absolutely go all the way around, but of course we can also use this ledge pretty easily. All 5 of the gates over here lead to the same area, which drops us off right next to that bridge we made the jump from in the last route. If you're looking for an easy solution to this level, this is it. Of course we don't need to rely on the flip gates to reach the underside. We can just jump down to the mushrooms from the start of the level. Now, contrary to the last one, this is probably the most difficult route route you could undertake, with blusters pestering you on most of these mushrooms, and the jumps between them pushing the limits of what we can do without the hover nozzle. But it's nothing I can't handle. Crap! There we go, first try, right back at the end of the intended route. Did I say that was the hardest? I was lying through my teeth. Stand right about here, get a couple goobles to spawn, then leave them be to wander towards the center of town. Then make use of them as stepping stones to reach this fence. Make another precise jump from this fence to that one, and then from this mushroom to that box, and then we're home free. If you're looking for the most stylish solution to this level, this is the one. The infinitely less precise version of that same route is to lure a bluster over from the bridge, have it hit you, and then abuse Mario's invincibility frames to walk over the goop. Then repeat the process with a gooble to reach the safe zone. This is what we in the business call damage boosting. Oh crap. With gooble stomping and damage boosting as options, I'm sure there are like 1,000 possible paths across the lava, but here's one that seems almost intentional over by the stream, with a couple boxes set up as relatively safe points leading up to this structure, from which we can drop straight down to our goal. Here's another path that looks deliberate, but doesn't actually lead anywhere we want to go. It did get me wondering why these little bridges aren't gooped though. My guess is it kept them from having to make multiple layers for a pollution map. On that note, I was surprised to learn that these safe zones along the intended route are actually still goopable. And finally, perhaps the most famous route of them all. Make your way over to the left tree, run on up all the way to the top, and then to the end of this leaf sticking out over the town. And finally, give it your hardiest spin jump over to the center. This is the one that gets all the glory because it's extremely quick and really not that tough to pull off. Though I do want to give an honorable mention to the fact that you can use a similar tactic from the tree by the hot spring, if you're feeling so bold. But we've finally reunited with Flood. It's time to let loose and take our revenge on this flamin' miasma. Even if you just want to get this mission done with, you should still at least clean up this section near the front of the town, because it seems our gooey counterpart has left his largest emblem ever over here. This is actually kind of funny, since all emblems take the same amount of water to clean regardless of size. This one can, ironically, be cleaned off faster than any other. This, and the M graffiti beneath where Flood was sitting, are both exclusive to this episode, so of course we're grabbing them now. There's one more blue coin we can only get in this mission, and it's from this flaming gentleman over here. Hey man, you wanna help a brother out? Maybe tell him there's water over there? Alright, whatever. At least if I do it, he gives me the reward. This Pianta is actually the source of something downright hysterical. So around the rest of this level, there aren't enough coins to reach 100, but if we rescue this guy after he gives us our blue coin, say by sinking him into the goo, he'll thank us again, but this time with a gold coin. Repeat the process, and he's so grateful he'll give you another coin. There is no limit to how many coins he can give you. Mario can just join forces with the Goobles and scam this guy out of his whole fortune. I am the hero this island deserves. This makes Pianta Village the third world in which we can reach the 999 coin maximum, but while this is definitely a lot easier than it would be versus King Boo, it's deeply tedious, so I'm taking a pass. Back over to our main objective, this jump up to the top of the mayor's mushroom was clearly designed to be impossible without the hover nozzle, so ironically, despite going most of this level without even the option to use it, this level's making our list of those designed according to the hover nozzle. We've also got some plurps doing their thing up here, and I want to give a shout out to Lloyd2226 for telling me something I didn't know about them. Spraying them causes them to drop coins. Now, back in Bianco Hills, if you sprayed them too much, they'd hit the ground or a treetop and just die. But here, since they're so high up, we can see that if we manage to spray them 5 times, they'll actually drop a 1-up. That's really obscure knowledge. Thank you, Lloyd. But that's the Goopy Inferno properly poured over. Let's carry on to episode 4. It seems Madame Pianta is once again having trouble with one of her pets, but this time it's a full-grown chomper. Bad chain chomp. Maybe I should head over to the hot spring to calm myself. Yeah, you are definitely not fit to own these pets. I found this out by accident. If you go a while, and I mean a while, without doing anything in regards to the chomp, Flood will eventually chime in with this obscure little tooltip. But come on, Flood, you should know by this point we've got so much to investigate before we actually do our jobs here. Most of the village residents don't actually seem too bothered by the raging steel beast. Actually, only the kids seem at all worried. Tell you what though, this guy mentions shade being cool, and that's a good excuse for me to draw attention to this little flourish. Mario's idle animation actually changes when he's in the shade. If he stops in the shade of a tree, or indeed a mushroom, he'll take a little breather and wipe the sweat off his forehead before idling as usual. That's pretty cool. Another thing I have an excuse to mention, the really mean Piantas have got a papaya over here, yet no one mentions it. Neither does the lady up by the fruit tree. In fact, this is the only variety of fruit no NPC ever once mentions by name. If not for the fact that I can read their internal file names, I would not know what this was either. I called these mangoes my whole childhood, but I've also heard pear, guava, gourd, and even fig. Man, these ropes underneath the town are trippy. All the hot spring promoters aren't doing a very good job this episode, talking about how the water is actually way too hot. Yeah, why wouldn't you want the cool spring water during the day and the hot spring at night, actually? The spring janitor's got some intel for us, but I actually can't make heads or tails of it.
The water for the hot spring, it pours out of that big plant over there, right? And it looks... well, let's just say it looks bad, and it gave us a bad rep. It's just as pure as the spring water, and it's good for you. Well, it goes to show the importance of appearances, I guess.
After reading it like 7 times to make sure I wasn't missing something obvious, my best guess is by plant, he means Pianta, and is referring to the fact that the hot spring water looks like snot coming out of the Pianta's nose. But man, this is worded confusingly. In my depraved curiosity, I tried running what he says in Japanese through a translator. Now, this is gonna be a rough translation, but he seems to be saying,
there's water flowing out of that huge flower. This is a big problem. The atmosphere seems sick, so no one comes to visit.
Okay, I have some work to do. That word right there is hana, which is the Japanese word for flower, but is also the Japanese word for nose. So, aha! I have found a translation mistake. The localization team must have mistakenly translated this as plant instead of nose. Mystery solved. Well, this hot spring just so happens to be the exact size, shape, and functional relevance for our big ball of fire, metal, and anger. So we have our task for this episode. Basically, the same as episode 1. There's a crater underneath where the big guy is slamming into the ground at the start, and funnily enough, this is present in every single mission, but this is the only one where it makes sense. Now, there are essentially 2 ways you can do this. One is to cool him off. The barrels work, but any water will do, then drag him by the tail all the way through town to the hot spring. Every so often, he'll get another rage on, and when he does, just ground pound his tail spike in, and cool him down again before resuming the tug of war. Get him all the way back to the bath, and wow god! Well, we did it, but at what cost? No idea how long a chain chomp's digestive process is, but I bet we've got time for some light reading. The Pianta Village brochure actually says it was constructed in a tree as protection from wild beasts. There are a few hints as to what exactly these beasts could have been, but the most common theory is that they were chain chomps, eventually becoming domesticated in the very village they once terrorized. This blurb down here is just barely readable. I believe it says, Monty Village is independent of the north. There are spring baths in this village. Monty's hello is Oldamase Nandamo, the same thing we see this Pianta saying here. That's Japanese, of course, and its closest translation in English is please come again, which sounds more like a farewell than a hello, but whatever. We can actually slip out of the chomp without a problem. However, the method we used to get him here was a bit of a drag. So let's work smarter and not harder. In stark contrast to the pups, this big fella is quite afraid of Mario, and will choose whichever path takes him furthest away from us. So by simply blocking certain forks in the road, we can direct him straight to the hot spring. However, that bath is the one thing he fears more than Mario, and he'll turn around without at least one tug on his chain. So easiest way to achieve that is to place a water barrel in front of the spring, scare him into bumping into it, and then latching on for him to do the rest. Now, this bath hog is actually blocking the only source of water on this whole map, making this the only time we've been in the overworld with no way to refill our flood. Not that it really matters, I mean our shine is right there. Episode 5, Secret of the Village Underside. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is hyping up some kind of fluff festival that's gonna be held in town soon. I don't know what this fluff stuff is, but honestly, I'm a bit concerned. This is setting off cult alarms in my head. Oh god, they even got the spa janitor. Yeah? Okay, alright, enough with the fluff stuff. Alright, I've held off on this for a bit, but who is this orange Pianta with the glasses? Is she the mayor's mom? I know he's not calling me mom, but maybe this is some kind of exclamation I'm not familiar with. This Pianta down here refers to the mayor's wife, and that's what I always assumed. Oh, we're gonna want to remember this for later. There's a secret coin stash to do with standing on top of the gold mushroom and spraying the moon. Speaking of the gold mushroom, it looks way different at night than during the day, having this shimmery coating on it. On that subject, this mission draws our attention down to the village underside, and all these mushrooms also appear very differently depending on whether it's day or night, some of them even changing colors completely. I imagine this is meant to be some kind of bioluminescence, but since none of the daytime missions ever bring us down here, it's extremely easy to miss this difference. This mission in particular also festoons these mushrooms with coins. There are over 50 down here when you include yet another hidden batch of 20 if you ground pound this green one. On top of that, there are 4 1-ups speckled about, though this one over here, I have no idea how you're meant to get it without dying. It looks like there's a chance with the tree trunk, but the game really fights you on trying to get back up from down here. So the only way I can see to actually bank this one up is to get back to relatively solid ground and then just exit the area. But that'll net you 5 lives each time. Man, where was this before I was trying to do the Goopy Inferno in the stupidest way possible? This last mushroom is our actual goal for this episode, but it looks like the entrance is blocked by some orange Yoshi sludge, so if you are doing Pianta Village as your first world, this is where you'll have to turn back and do the rest of the game as normal. Just kidding, you really think I don't know the old walk into the tree, hover into the mushroom trick? I practically invented that move, come on! Welcome to the last and weirdest not-so-secret mission of all. Similar to the casino secret, our skybox here is the same as outside, giving us this cool night aesthetic. But this course is populated? I don't know, a dozen Piantas have all set up shop here. Who are they? Do their families know they're here? Are they paint constructs of Bowser Jr.? The game will answer none of these questions but one. Who are they? They're the Chucksters, an elite coterie of people-throwing enthusiasts, and Mario just so happens to be the perfect size for throwing. If this mechanic was fun or endearing to you before, this level is about to put a strain on those feelings, with every jump in here being impossible without the aid of these Chuckle Chucks. Problem is, which way they throw you is dependent on which direction you talk to them from. Get your angle just a bit off, and you're in the pit. There's a 1-up to be gotten here at the start that's not too tough to get, and if you are low on lives, I'd recommend snagging it each retry, and you're gonna have to retry. This pair is kind of a half puzzle. The one on the right is stronger, but there's a barrier to stop you on the next platform. This one's weaker, but no barrier. You have to get your positioning right as well as the direction for this one. This guy's not as precise, but get him to throw you at the far end of his little pace, and he'll throw you right into this coin on the way up. Oh my god, these strolling stew generators. Yeah, I know, I messed up. When I said those ones back in Pinna Park were unique to that level, these ones had just completely slipped my mind. Man, I got raked over the coals for that one. Well, this Chuckster's not an issue, just a straight shot to the next platform, but this one, he's gonna put you through the ringer. Since he's walking perpendicular to the direction you want to get thrown, he's the easiest to mess up your angle on. Save yourself the trouble and only talk to him when he's not moving. If you're feeling bold, you can risk him throwing you to this opposite platform, where a Chuckster can throw you up to a 1-up and some coins, and then this one will toss you back. But I've never seen anyone actually go for all that. Just line up your last shot and let her rip. That wasn't so bad, was it? Back in for the extras, we totally shortchanged Yoshi there, so let's actually bring him along. But before we do, I want to check out the scaffolding down beneath the village. For some reason, it's crawling with clambers. There are a couple of coins around, but no real reason you'd want to be climbing around down here. If you kill them, they do drop coins, but good luck actually picking them up. No matter what kind of fruit Yoshi wants, you can find it on this fruit tree over here. It's no big deal. Of course, we got some boppin' bongos added to the mix, but there are actually a few things to touch on in regards to those bongos in Pianta Village. For one, our first instance of music that doesn't play a Yoshi version despite Yoshi being available in its area, this Hot Spring Trio song. But strangely, there is a Yoshi version of this song in the code. More in line with what we're used to, there's also a bongoed up version of the Village Daytime theme. So these blusters on the bridge are a massive nuisance, but it is worth noting they can be temporarily dispelled by spraying them with water. They'll just reappear as soon as you enter their spawn again, and they're so mobile that it's not really worth it. But what is worth it is Yoshi can absolutely eat these guys. And that's permanent. No respawning till we leave the level. Attaboy, Yoshi. On a similar note, if you really want the coins from these clambers, it'll take a bit of precision, but they can be had by eating them from above. These mushrooms are probably the tightest platforming you're ever called upon to do with Yoshi. Luigi. There's no shame in spraying the orange stuff as soon as you're close enough and making it the rest of the way with Flood. But back in the Chuckster Clubhouse, we're much more in our element now. Before we hit the red button, there are a few things to check out. First are our stew friends. With 4 spawners and up to 6 out here at a time, there is so much we can do with them. When you kick one away, it actually functions like a billiards ball, ricocheting away any others it comes into contact with, which is extremely satisfying. Perhaps even more satisfying, they have an odd mechanic where if you stomp one that's flipped over, all other flipped stews will be stomped vicariously. If you smush 3 or more at a time this way, they'll spawn a 1-up. This is easily the fastest way to farm 1-ups in the game, so I don't see any harm in getting up to that 99 maximum. It'll be nice having the generators cleared out before doing the coins, and you'll also want to be aware of this area you can reach by talking to this Chuckster from behind. That was a lot less precise than it looked. This green guy on fire actually has another 1-up for us if we're kind enough to put him out. Afterwards, he says he's just a regular passerby, but there's a bit of Chuckster in him yet. Like a Chuckster, his dialogue will end after a second of being on screen instead of waiting for us to press A. Now, with the red button pressed, there's not a lot to this one. Obviously, we're gonna avoid using as many Chucksters as possible, and the only curveballs are these 2 coins up by the regular passerby. Finally, there are plenty of coins both in and out of this area for us to reach 100 with, and it'll spawn directly next to the 8 red coin shine. Not too shabby if I do say so. Episode 6, Piantas in Need.
Oh no, I just went away for a bit and now look! I can't believe it, another fine mess and it's a doozy. Some of the villagers are trapped in that burning ooze and I just finished evacuating everyone a little while back. What in the world's happening? I think I may just start crying.
Aw, okay, I really like this mayor dude. He's a capable leader, but he also owns up to his own shortcomings. This is too much for him and he needs our help. Fair dues. 10 Piantas are stuck in the muck and we've got 3 minutes to save them. Let's go! No time for the bridge. Oh, hey Sunglasses Bro. Boy, I'm glad you're here. I think I could really use a pair of shades this mission. No need to talk to the Piantas you rescue, just hose them on off till they start dancing and move on. Wait a second, that's the guy who murdered me! Put him back under.
Help my friends!
Is this your friend? I was under the impression this was your son. You must hurry! I mean, must I? Must I though? My friends are in such trouble! Yeah, I know, I heard about that, but what are you looking at? The clouds? I guess they do look quite a bit like Yoshi. Oh, we got the mayor's wife/mom, very nice. Purple shirt lady, thanks again for telling me about the cash stash. In the fruit tree? Coins? Right? See, these are the real issues. Why isn't anyone else talking about the coins in the fruit tree? Hurry, hurry, faster, faster. Yeah, I'm going.
That's a tall mushroom.
Yeah, you know, I agree. Okay, fine, I guess we'll rescue that greenie meanie. Okay, so in theory, I really like this mission. It's exactly the sort of thing I was asking for back when we were scrubbing Serena Beach. More variations on the scavenger hunt kind of levels that also challenge our use of Flood. But cleaning off these Piantas is just significantly less exciting, calling on us to stand still and spray in one direction every time we unearth one. Also, the time limit is just not a factor at all. And for that matter, neither is the water. This would have been a great mission to actually make us feel stretched for water given this area's unique lack of sources, but there's just not enough goop I'd even consider worrying about it. It's not offensive or anything, it's just missed potential. Same thing with the Piantas dialogue. They do something that happens so rarely, which is switch their dialogue to react to the mission being completed, but I guess everyone got taken over by some kind of hive mind because they all say the exact same thing. Go see the mayor. Go see the mayor. Go see the mayor. All the Piantas who were sunk give you their thanks dialogue, but then they join in the chant. I think I might have an idea about how this guy got elected. The only one whose individuality is still intact is Sunglasses Bro. It's you and me now. How can we stand up to this? Every adult Pianta we rescued has a blue coin for us we can only receive in this episode, so we are going to pick up all 8 of those right now. And as long as we're doing that, we may as well get this one hidden within the sign at the front of the town. It's not exclusive to this episode, but it is exclusive to the daytime episodes, and we will be doing the blue coin rush at night. If you talk to the kids after receiving their thanks, but before completing the mission, they just say, "Kids don't carry coins." I love that. Mario goes, "Hey, what gives?" And they're just like, "Dude, I'm 10. All the adults basically say the same thing. What about my friends who are still stuck out there? Except for Purple Shirt Lady, who says some of my friends are still stuck out there somewhere. And Purple Mustache Man, who says, what about my friends still stuck in this gunk? All the Piantas who gave you blue coins will give you 1-ups instead if you're playing this mission again. So that is 8 per go if you don't like stomping on the stews. If you do submerge and rescue any of them after they've given you a 1-up, they'll pay out gold coins ad infinitum just like the mushroom guy in episode 3. But this would take even longer to hit 999 since they're not moving and therefore way tougher to sink. Now, this is the only time it's ever possible to submerge and rescue a sunglasses guy, and if you do, he actually does reward you with the sunglasses. That's absolutely incredible. Alright, I guess I better actually go talk to the mayor, huh?
We won't forget our debt to you. Probably.
Yeah, well, a hive mind like you's got a lot to keep straight. I get it. Episode 7, Shadow Mario Runs Wild. The Wild Beasts with Shadow Mario. I figured it out, guys. Gooey Mario is actually spreading goo this time, and he's drawing his little M symbol when he stops. Dude, he hasn't done that since the tutorial. This is awesome. Oh, wait, he's also summoning blusters everywhere. Never mind. Mom, the Goop's back. Pretty much everyone else's dialogue is par for the course. A couple people can't tell me apart from Gooey Me. Most everyone else is hyping up the Fluff Festival again. Though this time they say it's specifically tomorrow, which is a rare instance of the game actually hinting at a future episode. The main Piantas have got a random durian this episode. Tell you what, I'll take that. Hee-yah! Yo, did he just eat it? No, apparently fruit just can't exist on slime. That checks out. Wait, I quit the mission and re-entered, and now this is a coconut? Now it's a pineapple. Yeah, apparently this can be any fruit except for peppers. This was also the case with the fruit they had in episode 4. Although I reset like 20 times and it was never a banana either. Man, justice for bananas. Meanwhile, the fruit tree lady is just, I don't have the slightest idea how to get down from here. Some of the mushrooms are on fire again, and just like in episode 1, they'll pay out a pretty penny if you pound them. Oddly enough, this was only not the case with the flaming mushrooms in episode 3. Right, so it's time for our final showdown with our gooey rival, and they've really pulled out all the stops this time. He has by far the most variety of routes he can take, and he makes use of this entire map, though it's kind of funny watching him retrace the exact trail he blazed before. Kinda gives the game away a bit. Now, Goobles won't spawn this episode, and his path avoids almost all the Piantas, except for 2, Purple Shirt Lady and Mushroom Guy. I was actually surprised that you can't get Mushroom Guy's blue coin this episode, but it's not a big deal. Honestly, for all its flash, none of this goop is a big deal. As long as you're following along and spraying, it's basically like any other chase. There are a couple cool things to it though. There's one last secret technique he can teach you if you let him lead you around a bit, and that's the ability to chain a spin jump directly into a triple jump. This drastically reduces the run-up required to pull one off, and feels really cool. Honestly, they might have been a bit too ambitious with all these paths. Some of them are broken without any input from me. Of course, he'll teleport right back on track, but that doesn't look great. Here's something I haven't been stupid enough to try yet. Knocking Shadow Mario down in a specific spot. With no indication of how much damage he's taken, the process of knocking him over somewhere precise is a fool's errand. But one of his paths can take him to the location of a blue coin, right on top of this stone Pianta's nose. So I set about trying to knock him out atop it to see if maybe I could grab a shine and a blue coin simultaneously. Alas, 'twas not to be. Shadow Mario has a failsafe where he's not allowed to take his last hit of damage unless he's on solid ground, and apparently the nose doesn't count. So that didn't pan out, but I did find out something interesting along the way. Shadow Mario will actually regenerate if you knock him down but don't approach for long enough. I imagine this is also a failsafe in case you accidentally knock him down somewhere out of reach somehow, but I had no idea he did this. Apparently he's always done it. The sole exception seems to be that very first chase. Hey man, watch those hands. You've given me quite the chase around this whole island, my gooey doppelganger, but one last time, down you go. Upon defeating Shadow Mario in all 7 levels, major developments are afoot. The entirety of Delfino Plaza has been swallowed by the ocean, the city is in turmoil, the carpets are ruined, and Purple Toad is wearing a blue vest! The entrance to the final area, Corona Mountain, is open at long last, and Shadow Mario beckons us in for our ultimate challenge. But forget about all that, because this is still Pianta Village's episode. Episode 8, Fluff Festival Coin Hunt. I've had one. In one last reflection of Bianco Hills, our final mission is a celebratory red coin challenge. But more importantly, we get to know what all that hubbub about the Fluff Puff was. Turns out the festival's a proper soiree. Everyone's getting down to celebrate the giant dandelion puffs drifting through the valley. Is anyone else just now putting together that these are probably the seeds of the giant tree? Well, everyone's cutting loose. Even the hot spring cleaner. He's finally hung up his broom and is out here just feeling it. Really small detail I appreciate. The song playing right now is similar to what the hot spring performers have been playing this whole time, but it's in a higher key to reflect the revamped energy around here. Gramps, apparently, is well over 90 years old, looking good, old bean. Greeny Meanie, even the festival isn't enough to put him in a more pleasant mood. Okay, I think I figured it out. This is the mayor's wife, but this is one of those older generation things where parents actually call each other mom and dad. Or maybe it's the younger generation version. I ain't here to judge. We've got a couple more familial bonds established here, though it takes some guesswork. This little Pianta says she wants to take dance lessons from her friend's sister. I assume her friend is the other little girl, and further assume her sister is one or perhaps both of the yellow dancing Piantas. These yellow ones aren't the usual performers, they're the ones who hold up the signs for the hot spring. They're actually not found in any of the night missions. I guess holding up the signs is tiring enough that they go to bed early. Though on that subject, where does anyone in this village sleep? I think the suggestion is that these woven bamboo structures are all houses somehow, but like, no they're not. The little yellow Pianta also refers to Gramps, so maybe the orange Pianta is her big sister. Or maybe just everyone calls him Gramps. He seems like that kind of character. I like the little story written around him, that he's probably at least 100, but he's still full of energy because he de-stresses in the spring every single night. But that's everyone I want to talk to. Some of the others will give hints on where some of the coins are hidden, but I think it's more fun to look for yourself. This is the most expansive area we've been tasked with hunting the red coins down in, and some of them are genuinely well hidden. You've got one above the main entrance, one hidden in the grass to the left of the village, one pretending to be a fruit in the fruit tree, one at the bottom of the hot spring, and one under the nearby tree. This one's scary because it's guarded by bees, and if you don't slip by them, they could very well sting you off the cliff. Look, even Mario's extremely unamused. But honestly, just get in and get out, and it shouldn't be a problem. Probably the best hidden one is underneath this Box Mountain Mayhem over here. If we head underneath the village, we can see a red coin down here as well, but it's on top of the scaffolding, an area that takes a little puzzle solving to reach. Just jump off one of these sliding panels while they're in motion, and we can nab ourselves coin number 7. Bet I could make it back topside the riskiest way possible. Up, come on! Ah, yes. For our last coin, we'll have to summit that tree, and lucky us, we have a rocket nozzle to do it with. Before we get too excited about that though, there is a blue bird flapping around here, and he's exclusively found in this mission. So we're gonna nab his coin now. Obviously, we can always just rocket store our way up there, but let's just pretend we don't know how to do that. If you've ever tried climbing up these platforms with the rocket nozzle, you may have noticed they require a lot more precision than this game usually asks of you. What you're actually meant to do here is use this swing with a capital W, hop up to this cloud, and from here it's a straight shot to the top. Our final red coin awaits, but our shine spawns way over there. Now here's the thing, you probably don't want to have the rocket nozzle for this next part. Unless of course, once again, you just want a rocket store, which, hey, valid. Oh dear, I really miscalculated that jump. Oh, drat. But this is the Fluff Puff Festival. Let's get into the spirit of things and ride the wind across. However, I want the hover nozzle for this just to give me some extra insurance against, well, Mario Sunshine. But it's really easy to bring it up to the top of this tree. Just climb up to the top of Piantissimo's tree and make the jump from here. It's surprisingly close. Hey, check it out. I am the Fluff Puff. This festival is for me! Ha 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 ha! Also, this happened. So, that was fun. These cloud platforms have an interesting property. They actually expand when hit with water. This one is, I believe, the largest one you can ever see a cloud in the game, which looks kinda off with their total lack of texture or shading. It can even create an optical illusion if you hover over one, appearing as though you're actually falling towards the cloud rather than it growing. It also means I can do this. Once again, we're down a secret shine, but I think this time that one will fit in better after the blue coins. Now before I pull out the map and break them down properly, I have to give these things another few minutes in the hot seat. Pianta Village is home to some of the most notorious blue coins of all. Here's one for spraying at the moon in one specific spot. Here's one for ground pounding this Pianta's nose, a spot that's all but too slippery to stand on. Oh, and only at nighttime. Here's a wooden sign we've seen the likes of in nearly every other level, but this one just so happens to give a blue coin for spraying it. Listen, I love Sunshine, but I can't very well defend these without sounding hopelessly blinded by nostalgia. Even still, game design like this is much easier to forgive these days, what with the ubiquity of the internet. The Venn diagram of people who are willing to go the extra mile to 100% a game, but not willing to look up how to do that is practically two separate circles. But to be objective here, we have to look at this through the lens of someone playing this game around the time it first came out, and from that perspective, yeah. If I were combing a level looking for that last blue coin, finding that it was hidden in a totally innocuous shelf with absolutely zero visual indication would feel a lot more frustrating than satisfying. Worse than that are the coins only attainable in certain levels. Pinna Park's actually a good example of that idea done right. Obviously, if the park's closed, it makes sense that I can't get the coins inside, and outside on the beach, here are several coins I can see but can only get by using bullet bills present in episode 2. That's a puzzle. That's the game challenging me to draw on my knowledge of the area and combine two elements in a logical way. But where's the puzzle in these O graffitis in Noki Bay only being present in episode 6? Oh, episode 6 is the only one with a turbo nozzle, but episode 2 was the only one with bullet bills, so what happened there? Essentially, in order to 100% this game without some kind of walkthrough, you need to play every episode of every level, systematically spraying every wall and every object, ground pounding everything that remotely stands out, and speaking to every Pianta, acting on everything they say because it could be a hint. It's possible, there are those who have done it, but does that make it good game design? No, not really, but here's the great big earth-shaking but. I don't think it's fair to hang all that on every blue coin. This is the main issue I take with the blanket criticism of Sunshine's supplementary collectibles. I've already gone on at length about how blue coins and extra shines actually play into Sunshine's structure, so I won't reiterate those points, but the actual moment-to-moment function of the blue coins is to encourage the player to interact with the world. How are you supposed to know this blue coin is hidden in the moon? Well, this Pianta tells you about the secret cache stash with instructions on how to find it. Why would you be exploring over here in the first place if none of the level's shines lead you over this way? Because it's somewhere you haven't investigated yet, and the game is in the market of rewarding that kind of behavior. For every blue coin like this, there are 10 that will have you treating Isle Delfino like a living, breathing place. If you look at them as nothing more than a means to the end of reaching 100%, I'd say you're selling them and this game short. But if you look at them for the interactions they create with this world, with its characters, the micro-challenges they encourage you to take on, I think they really shine. If you do want to gather them all, hopefully it's for your own sake, and not just because you feel you have to. If the game lets you down because you wish all the blue coins were more fun to find without outside help, believe me, I'm right there with you, and I honestly believe this game's developers are too. But at the very least, I can do my part in making them a little easier to track down. Now, we've already found nearly half the coins, and that's down to the fact that Pianta Village has more blue coins unique to different missions than any other level. We found a Pianta on fire and 2 M graffitis in the Goopy Inferno, that blue bird in episode 8, the sign out front in any Daylight episode, and 8 more from the sunken adult Piantas in episode 6. We're getting all the rest in episode 5, as it's the only one with Yoshi. Our first coin is right behind the entrance, a taunting emblem. Of course, we're also gonna go after our 100 gold coins this mission, and it's probably the easiest we've had in a while. What with the plethora of coins on these mushrooms down here. There is one blue coin beneath the village, this M on the ceiling near one of the access hatches. This one is much easier to see during the day, in fact, most of them are. So just for the sake of visual clarity, I'm gonna show most of these coins being collected during the daytime, but no, I still recommend episode 6 for them. You know, I always thought this game had 2 colors of graffiti, red and black, but I've only just realized I think they're all meant to be red, but the black ones are meant to be what the red looks like when it's shrouded in shadow. Back topside, there are 2 more emblems on the sides of what are totally houses, and 2 triangles, one near the hot spring entrance and one on the east side of the village. The hot spring's got a blue coin hidden in the Pianta's nose for a ground pound, and a whole batch of gold too. There's another batch of coins for ground pounding in the dry hot tub as well, which has already got us at 76. At the top of this tree, a blue coin is sitting pretty, and there's this odd platform way off on one of the leaves that doesn't seem to have a purpose other than to admire the view. On the west side of the village, we'll find one hiding in the tall grass, and then another on top of the front left tree on one of those leaf platforms. Now for the infamous moon one, which of course this gossip girl was kind enough to inform us of. On top of the mayor's yellow mushroom, spray the moon. Strictly speaking, you're not spraying the moon itself, but an invisible object floating above us. There's a coin in the waterfall opening in the main tree, and then we'll head downstream for 2 more along the way. By the way, this waterfall is the perfect elevator to get us past the death barrier to the bottom of this bottomless pit. Just, don't do this until you're ready to leave the level, cause there's no getting back up. Hey, is it just me or does the moon look really big from down here? And finally, let's hook up with our boy Yoshi. There's a blue coin held by this bunch of bees, another by this batch of blue butterflies near the fruit tree, and 1 more battalion of bees near the hot spring. Do yourself a favor, lure them away from the cliff before you try to eat them. The coins they carry should be more than enough to push you over 100, and we can get our last blue coin, for a total of 210. We are so close! If you're curious, the 100 coin shine spawn location is identical during the day, though as far as I can tell, that's only possible via the most annoying method imaginable. Besides, I want to grab it with Yoshi. Greenblade89 in my comments recommended I try grabbing a shine as he's about to disappear, since Yoshi will stop flashing but stay green, giving us a good look at the classic colors, if only for a moment. That's nice to see. With all that in the bag, all that's left is that last secret shine. Head on back to episode 8 and we'll have another chat with the purple gossip girl. You know the mayor's wife's super secret cash stash? You didn't happen to find it, did you? Oh, we sure did. I sure hope not. Actually, I think the mayor may be hiding something too. Climb to the highest part of the village and look at the sun. Oh, no. No, I can't say anymore. I'll be in such trouble. That's some juicy intel, thank you very much. I love how these two secrets complement each other. Sun and moon. She told us to spray the moon, but she didn't tell us to spray the sun. We just have to figure out that the mayor and his wife hide things in a similar way, and there it is. It's gotta be some sorta amplifying satellite for his hive mind communications, right? Oh man, that shine hovering right over that red coin is just asking for trouble. I don't know how you expect me not to try and get the shine and coin 8 at the same time. Alright, a little flood cameo on the save screen, we've seen that before. And with that, Pianta Village has gone the way of the Fluff Puffs. What a fantastic level. It's so compact, so lively. I noticed this interesting emphasis on the pathways. The Chain Chomps, Shadow Mario, they follow this network of paths like Pac Man ghosts. It makes this level feel more structured than the rest, which I think adds to the gratification of breaking that mold and finding your own route, culminating in the Goopy Inferno, which I'd be remiss not to call the crown jewel of Sunshine's missions. Better yet, we haven't just finished Pianta Village, we've done all 7 of Sunshine's main levels. Although, even if we cashed in our blue coins, we're still missing over 20 shines. Next time, we're going after the densest and most extensive area of them all. But until then, all of you watching this on Patreon have my most sincere thanks. And if any of you watching on YouTube want to join the party and see the next video right this instant, the link's in the description. An enormous thank you to all my upper tier patrons, including my excessive game breaker, Wormy, who changed his username from Gabe R to reflect that he has ascended to the king of the worms, by which I mean us, because we're all worms in comparison. And to my obsessive game breakers, Janku, Andrew Minturn, Marcel S., Drooling, and Chris Bradell. You're all a whole bunch of legends, and I'll see you in the next one.